making it to part 2 of our COVID impact interview. I'm so excited to get to part 2. Part 1 was full of so much good information, so much relatable content, things that you hear all the time. And part 2 does not disappoint. It is going to talk about really how to become an active participant in your healthcare, particularly your birth experience. So moms, first time, second time, however many times. I really hope that you're able to enjoy hearing from these two lovely ladies about their experience. And most of all, I hope you relate. So let's just jump right into it.
But another thing that just made me think about is, did either of you get to deliver, as in physically push out your placenta? I don't know if you even remember, or because a lot's going on at that point. You got a baby in your arms, but the second birth, for those who are familiar, is delivering the placenta. And I just don't know, did either of you have a chance to actually deliver your placenta?
Yes, I delivered both. And they gave me the option. Well, so I had both of them. They asked, do I want to keep the umbilical cord attached? And I waited a few minutes, or I don't remember how long I waited, but I waited a certain amount of minutes, and then they were like, okay, well, it's time to, push out the placenta. And I was just like, it didn't hurt as much as people say. Like, I know I have all these forums and people are like, oh my gosh, placenta is just like giving birth. And it was fine, or I felt fine. And then to see it was just like, wow, it's just moments that are just kind of like surreal, I guess. You just remember those things. I don't know. I mean, again, sometimes a lot of stuff's going on, so you don't even realize. But just to see that happening was just like, wow, like this is pretty cool. I mean, it's crazy, but it's cool. But I was able to deliver the placenta.
I actually don't remember it the first 2 times, but I delivered it the third time. So I don't think, well, I guess they didn't give me like an option the first 2 times, but that third time I actually delivered it and I actually saw it as well.
Okay, I just want to take a quick intersection just to kind of put an education point in, because during my experience, as far as being in nursing school and witnessing the births that I saw at the institution that I was at, which was affiliated with my school, they didn't give them the option to birth the placenta. They actually applied tension to the placenta to and tension to the placenta, like the cord, umbilical cord, while also on the outside, pressing down on the uterus to kind of detach it and pull the placenta out, which was so shocking just visually. One, because it is painful. You have to remember, you guys did an amazing thing. Not only did you make a human being with all of their organs and all their limbs and all, you actually grew another organ. The placenta is an organ. And I mean, like, you grew another organ in your body. It's the only time anybody can say that, so seeing that, I remember being in the room and I was literally looking around because I was scared, because I'm like, is anyone going to stop this? Like, should somebody say something? Because I didn't know. I honestly didn't. I never thought about it. And I think that it's one of the things that nobody thinks about, because you do have a new baby laying on your chest at the time that it's kind of happening. And you are in a lot of pain, and you may not be aware of what's going on. You might think they're just checking you. They're checking, assessing your bleeding, this, that, and a third. But the educational piece is that you should not be applying tension to the umbilical cord and pulling the placenta out, because I don't know if they talked to you about the possibility that there could be placental tissue left behind in the uterus. And that is, like, a lot of people think, oh, postpartum hemorrhage, that's going to be right after you give birth. No. It actually is, I believe, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I'll put it in the comments. It's either 6 weeks or 6 months. At any point in that time, you can still have a hemorrhage after giving birth, especially if there is a piece of the placenta left behind in the uterus. So one thing that was, of course, of note after I witnessed them pull, and I had seen 6 vaginal deliveries, 4 C-sections, and each time at that vaginal delivery, they pulled that placenta out, and I never got comfortable with that. Like I just didn't understand what was the purpose behind that. But then even furthermore, no one ever, what we call a dissection of the placenta. So you go through, you check the placenta, check and make sure that it's whole. So especially in my mind, if you're going to do this method, this quick method of, removing the placenta from the uterus, why wouldn't you check that there's nothing left behind, that there's no piece, that there's no, it only takes the smallest piece at that time, because then you have to remember, by the time postpartum, like the immediate postpartum period, is all about making sure that your womb, which was at one point a closed environment, it's now open. So like you have to make sure you you can't go into any hot tubs, you can't do any, like there's so many things to prevent infection from happening, that I was just so shocked and surprised and actually, but I had so many horror stories. Again, I only saw 6 births and I already had horror stories for days from that place. Oh my gosh, really quickly. There was another time where the attending who was doing the delivery, his phone was ringing. He's like, oh yeah, to me, he's like, oh yeah, can you answer that? Like it was in his front pocket. So I reached over and I'm like looking around, I answer it and I'm like holding it up to his ear. I'm like, and he's like, yeah. Mind you, he's like reaching in doing, and I'm like, okay, there's voicemail, there's text. So you could just wait until your hand is not physically inside of a person to be doing this. So I just, again, wanted to bring that back to birth plans, because the birth plan to me is all about how can you have a safe pregnancy, a safe delivery, how can you keep your baby safe, of course, but really also it gives you the opportunity to think about those things outside of the time that you're in labor. Because when it's just like when you have a fire drill, there's no fire, but you know what to do because you practice it, you practice it. Because if they would have said something, another thing that I picked up on is a very keen thing that they like to say, oh, baby's heart rate is dropping, we have to have a C-section. It's like, okay, but the heart rate goes up and down. So when you're saying dropping, what do you mean? Like it just allows you to just know, instead of just instinctively, oh my God, I'm gonna trust that, this person knows what they're talking about, which you do have to trust to a certain degree, but you also have to know that it is within your right to ask questions, and that you don't have to feel any guilt. Like you said, Jasmine, you don't feel guilt because even if you have a C-section, you don't feel guilt. There's some mothers out there that feel like, oh my God, I didn't get to birth my baby. And although it may have been changed, because I know some mothers, if they're not able to breastfeed for whatever reason, that changes your whole experience that you plan to have, but it doesn't make you a failure. It doesn't make it like you didn't have that experience, and you definitely did, but it just removes that urgency, because when you're sitting there and you're pushing and pushing, and maybe you don't have any strength left in your body, you don't have the brain capacity to think like, okay, well, what am I willing to do? Like, how long am I willing to wait for, for an induction? Or, Pitocin is a little less, like it's not as intense as like the balloon that they could use. So the Pitocin, that might be a little bit easier because it's like through the IV. You don't have to have like an actual device, and then they pump it up, and that's actually very painful. So I'm gonna do another video on that because that's really interesting. But one of the other questions that I wanted to ask is, if you could sum up your birth experience in one sentence. I know that's so hard. Take your time. But if you could sum up, and I know you guys have multiple babies, so kind of tidbits from here and there. What if you could just sum up the experience in one sentence? What do you think that you would say?
I think, like you said, I'm pretty sure you just said this, give yourself grace. I think that's what it would, give yourself some grace. Being a first time mom and giving birth is just you just can't explain it, honestly. And then the second time around, it's still just like a feeling that you just cannot explain. Sorry, this is more than a sentence, but
Take your time, go ahead.
You really just can't explain it. It's just like, you see, oh, that person's pregnant, this person, oh, congratulations, you're pregnant, this person had a baby. But it's just so much more than the pictures, and it's so much more than the clothes and the birthdays. And like in that moment of having your child, of birthing a human being, it's like, wow, Like, that's honestly all I can, is just wow. Like, I have no words, honestly. Like, I don't know, like, how do you make someone feel what you're feeling in that moment? Like, it's just so many emotions, so much mentally, so much physically. Like, that's probably like the highest and lowest you'll be in one moment. I mean, just give yourself some grace.
The highest and lowest. So my sentence would be, childbirth is the most challenging, painful experience, yet rewarding. Because when you're sitting or lying there, standing there, whatever position, kneeling there you're in, while you're giving birth and going through that labor process, it's so painful. At times you get frustrated. Sometimes you feel like, nope, I can't do this anymore. And then you might feel those moments when you get relief and it's like, okay, my child's about to come. Like, I'm excited for this moment. And then once you actually hold the baby in your arms, it's just like Chanel said, you cannot explain all those feelings.
I didn't even share with my followers, but I don't have any children. I'm putting that out there. I'm not pregnant or anything like that. I can't even imagine, just because of the swelling in my heart that I get when I see y'all babies, or when I see little babies, or even if I see little pregnant mommies and they have, they'll be pregnant and then they'll have their toddler in the stroller, and I'm like, oh my goodness, my heart, I can't imagine. And then also knowing what I know as far as all of the sickness and all of the physical changes within your body, the ligament changes that, people say, oh, that pregnancy waddle, and you're like, no, but your ligaments are actually expanding as you prepare for birth. It's all so amazing. And as you know, on my channel, I focus on first time moms mostly, but because each birth, even though you guys have children, have had children previously, you can say this was its own experience. Even if you recognize, like, oh, I have multiple kids, it's like each experience is its own experience. So keeping that in mind, the last question I really wanted to ask was, if at all, did the pandemic have an impact or effect on your birth experience, whether it be how long you stayed, or that process of people visiting you in the hospital afterwards, or anything like that? Any effects at all that were lingering from the pandemic during that acute birth time?
I would say yes. So at the hospital, the person that's there for the delivery is the only person that can come and go. And, I wanted my mother to see, her third grandchild being born, which would, even if she came and went, they took turns, it was kind of like you kind of, I don't know, not feel lonely, but you want to share this experience with other people as well. But other than that part, like the visitation, worrying about COVID, I don't want to get, first, I would say that the CDC stuff with, pregnant women came out literally probably the week, no, like the month that I was supposed to give birth or something, or maybe in August. It was sometime around there. And now you have so many people like, okay, well, you need to get, the vaccine, you need to do this, you need to do that, to protect yourself. And, pregnant women are at a higher chance of, dying from COVID. It was a lot mentally. Like, okay, well, should I get it? Should I not get it? What if I get COVID? Am I going to be able to see my baby if I have COVID? What if the baby? It was a lot on a mentally. But other than that, the process was fine. The hospital was pretty quiet. It's not like people were rushing in and out. I had my own room. I got to deliver and stay in that same room. I was able to walk around. I would say that the stay, I was definitely comfortable.
My process was certainly different. So pre-pandemic, my husband was at every doctor's appointment with me throughout the entire process, starting with the first one, all the way until I gave birth. This time around, they allowed him to come to the first ultrasound and the first appointment with my OBGYN. After that, he wasn't allowed to come to any other appointments. And so it was just me. So that part was pretty lonely. And then, of course, they don't let you take pictures when you're getting your ultrasounds done. I think they only printed out the first ultrasound I had. So even after that, I was able to see the baby, but he wasn't able to see her at all. And so it's just like, oh, well, I can't take pictures on my phone. You can't really see how she's doing. I could tell you what they said and how she's measuring. And there were times when I just pushed the record feature on my phone so he could hear the heartbeat, but he wasn't able to be there. So that part was lonely. And then when it came to like 36 weeks and further, I was driving about 45 minutes to the hospital for my appointments. And so if I had him driving, especially, I want to say I was 38 weeks and I was driving to the hospital, and I was like, okay, I'm in pain now and I'm big. If my water breaks or I go in labor on a highway, what am I going to do? Because he's not with me. And so I understand they wanted to limit people, but at the same time, why not allow just that one person to go with you to your appointments like they did in the delivery room? I think that would have been safer for us moms and less stressful. But of course, it was what it is, and we followed procedures. As far as giving birth, it was the same way that Chandel stated. Only one person could be in a room while we delivered. Even before we got to the room, once I went in, I had to be triaged. He wasn't able to come into the triage room with me. He had to wait in the waiting room. I had to get COVID tested while I was triaged. So thank God she wasn't ready to come soon as I stepped foot in the door because they had to wait for my COVID results. Other than that, yeah, I think those are the main changes, main differences.
Right. I can't even imagine just the differences as far as, visitors, people coming in, again, support people. Usually, they say you can have up to 4 people in the room roughly. So obviously, it depends on the institution that you're at, but that was something that when I was in my education, I had noticed that there were a lot of immigrants, and one woman specifically, she didn't have anyone with her because her family was back home. And not that I don't know what country it was, but they were there. And so it was like a friend that she met after only being there for, I believe, like 3 months. And I was just thinking like, wow, that's so much responsibility for the friend, because it's like, this is such an important moment for her. And you have to do a lot as the friend to be the support person. So I just definitely wanted to ask about that, and to kind of just button that question up. Me and Shandell were kind of talking about it, but do either of you think that you could do a home birth?
No. There's no way. No.
I thought about it. I don't know. Because I want that option. If I need the epidural, I want it to be there. But yeah, I don't know. I think it would be nice, but I just don't know. I can't answer that question. I want the options to be open.
I think it's tough. I think honestly, and this is coming like as a future provider, like I get nervous about home births, not because they're any less anything, because they're so beautiful. There you can have everything, as your wishes want. But it makes me nervous because I'm the type of person that likes to have like access to everything. Like, I don't care if I don't need it at all. I don't care if I don't need a box of tissues. I just want to have a box of tissues. I'm like the bag lady, I carry a big bag with me wherever I go because I have to have everything, from the snacks, from everything. I have to have it just in case I might need it. I might not need it. But when it comes to birthing a baby, and then even then, like I would be thinking, how far is this person from the hospital? You can't really transport somebody. What if you have like a baby who's like coming down bottom first or breech? It's like you would know that prior to going into labor, except for if you're preterm. So even if your plan was to be, at home, it's like, okay, well, this is taking the risk level kind of up for us to be doing this. I need to have access to certain things. So I was just thinking about that. And then obviously you just don't know about the blood loss, and not to scare anyone from doing a home birth at all. I'm just saying that for me as a future provider, I think I'm going to be like a birth center type of, where it's like an at-home like feeling, but I can still like behind my magic curtain pull out every single thing that I might need to be adequately prepared for the birth. Because again, it's just it's down to the minutes. When it's an emergency, you know, oh yeah, I'm just 10 minutes from the hospital, but it's like 10 minutes from the hospital. Like, it's like, don't know what could happen in those 10 minutes, but you know, so I really do appreciate you ladies for coming on and sharing your experience. Just to take us home, can you give one word of advice to new moms who might be on my channel, and who have absolutely no idea what to expect when they're expecting, and anything that you really just felt, this is what I wanted to know?
I would say, I would probably say, just read the books, talk to your doctor, go on YouTube, like do as much as research as possible. Every birth is different, every pregnancy. Just, even, oh, well, my friend had this type of, no, this is you, do what you need to do for you. Trust me, like, don't go up based off what someone else said. Just talk to your doctor, read the books, read everything that you can. Like Google, you want the most accurate information as possible.
I agree. And I'm piggyback what Chandel said too. So don't compare yourself. Everybody is different. Each pregnancy is different. You might see someone, you might be 36 weeks, and you might see someone else who's 36 weeks. You might be small, they might be big. Nothing's wrong with your baby. Keep talking to your provider to see how you're doing, how your baby is doing. Just because you look different than someone else doesn't mean something's wrong with you. And then I'll have to say one word of advice after you had a baby: practice self-care. I can't say that enough, because especially if you're someone who likes to do everything. Like me, I try to get everything done. I try to be the one who's doing the laundry, taking care of it. Even if you have a great spouse, sometimes just give yourself a break, because as a new mom, whether you have one child, whether you have 5, you need your self-care time. Breathe, relax, take a nap when the baby's napping, go just shower a little bit longer, shave your legs. Just do anything, whatever you like to do it for, get some self-care in there, and don't think you're being selfish. Everyone needs some self-care.
Yeah, I'm gonna expand on that. Definitely after birth. I know that we're focusing on the birth itself, but the after, that's probably one of the biggest things that I don't think people realize is hard. Yes, give yourself grace, take a long shower. I went to Target for 2 hours a couple days ago, like, just do something that's going to make you happy. Forgive yourself. It's okay if your baby cries, it's okay. The after it's hard. It's hard, but you'll be okay. You'll get through it, and you and the baby will be fine.
That's really great advice, mostly because it's so hard, I think. Again, this channel is for first time Black mothers, specifically ages 18 to 34. And that obviously is a very big gap. But when you think about those women, us, all of us on the panel right now, it's like, even before pregnancy, it's hard for us to forgive ourselves. It's hard for us to kind of give ourselves that room where it's like, okay, but it's fine to make a mistake. We're human. So I really feel like, I read so many studies about how postpartum depression is real. Baby blues, that's real. And like, sometimes you might say, well, no, I don't feel that way. And it's like, don't suppress how you feel either. It's healthy because at the end of the day, it's the hormones. It's not necessarily saying something that you're taking on like, oh, this is always going to be that way. But you are in a process where your hormones are raging, dipping, they're changing, just swinging around. And then you have to, deal with your newborn baby. And, you might forget. It's so easy to forget about self. Like, we're such loving, compassion, like Black women. Oh my goodness. We are mothers. Like, before we're even mothers, we're mothers. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just, we're the mom in the friend group, it's just so many things. And it's just, I'm so glad that you guys gave that as the advice because it's so real. And I feel horrible because this went so much longer than it was supposed to, but you guys gave such good information. I hope y'all babies ate. Oh my God, I feel terrible. But I really appreciated talking to you guys because it really does give people who are maybe, again, first time moms, even mothers who are just at this time, they find themselves alone because of COVID, because of whatever their situation is, something to connect to, something to relate to, because you really can easily think like, oh, it's just me. Oh, it's just me. Or, nobody else is experiencing this. And it's just so powerful to have that support and have that understanding and being able to, although you're individual, to still align yourself with people who are like. So I'm just so grateful that you guys are able to share your experience. Do either of you have any final thoughts or anything like that you wanted to share? I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that now. And if not, again, thank you so much for stopping on. And to my viewers, I hope you guys learned something that you can relate. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all those things, and I'll see you guys next time.
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to share some of our stories, and I don't know, I think that this will definitely be very helpful, very, very helpful. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity and just for putting this out there, because this advice is hard to find, especially you want to see someone going through something who looks like you. So definitely for putting out there for Black women, ages 18 through, you said 34, right?
Mm-hmm.
18 through 34. Even if they're not a first time mom, it's definitely good to see, because like you said earlier, each pregnancy, each childbirth is different. You may have several children, but each baby is their own, and they're going to make sure they're different. So thanks so much, Autumn, for putting this on. And thanks, Chandel, for being with me on this episode. Best wishes to you, Autumn, in your future. I know this is going to blow up, and I hope people all over this country and even other countries will view this, like it, and share it.
Wow, so the interview has come to a close. I am even just rewatching and editing it was so much. I absolutely enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you again to Chandel and Jasmine for giving me your time and sharing your experiences. Just as some closing thoughts, birth can be a lot to handle, as our moms told us in our interview. But you, as the mother, as the birthing person, you are doing so much. Remember to give yourself all the grace in the world. Stick to your birth plan. Advocate for yourself. Honestly, know that each experience is going to be its own experience. And knowing your body is going to be the best weapon that you have to prepare yourself and become as closely ready, because there's no way to be 100% ready, but as closely coming to ready as possible to go through the birth experience. Something beautiful awaits you on the other side. And here at Babies, Bumps, and Becoming, that's the becoming. You don't know what it is necessarily, because it all affects us differently. But that experience of the birth process is the start of you becoming whatever it is that your birth experience allows you to be, and whatever it is that you make your birth experience. So good luck to anybody watching that is a first-time mom or going to be delivering soon or anything like that. Hopefully it gave you a lot to think about and really allowed you to let go of any fears or potential pressures that you're putting on yourself. Enjoy the experience, because it is a beautiful one. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe.